Welcome to another exciting episode of Discovery Dan, the scientific adventure man, explorer extraordinaire. Today we're going to go to Florida and the Kennedy Space Center. The Space Center has been the main launch site for human spaceflight since 1968, including Apollo, Skylab, and the Space Shuttle program. Today, the Kennedy Space Center is a multi-user spaceport, which means different groups use it, not just NASA. The Kennedy Space Center is named after our 35th president, John F. Kennedy, who, in 1961, challenged America to put a man on the moon by 1970. Sadly, President Kennedy was assassinated on November 22, 1963. He never got to see his dream become a reality, but because of his vision and the thousands of others, man reached the moon on July 20, 1969. There are about 700 buildings at the Kennedy Space Center. Most of it is off limits to the public, but they have a visitor center that is amazing, and that's where we're going to go today. Let's go! NASA stands for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The main purpose of NASA is to explore space, and in doing so, protect Earth. So over the years, the space program has changed a lot. In the early days, they just sent pilots and commanders up. But now, in addition to pilots and commanders, they're sending up scientists, people who can do all kinds of research and help us learn a lot of things about space and other planets. So in that way, things have changed quite a bit. We get to learn so much more now. This is the Astrovan. They use this van to actually drive astronauts to the launch pad who are flying on the space shuttle. Amazing. Sleek. Space is a really dangerous place. It's not really hospitable for human life. There's no air, first of all, so astronauts have to be incredibly brave to go up into space. Not all of the astronauts who have gone up have come back, and this is a little memorial to 14 of them who didn't make it back. But the great thing is that every time we go up into space, we learn more and we get to increase our technology and improve our chances of getting back. This is the actual Space Shuttle Atlantis that flew into space 33 times. And it's the only space shuttle on display where you can see into its payload doors. They could open that up, well, they did many times, and they'd pull all the stuff out and they'd float around like this, kind of, I think. I'm just guessing because I've never been in space. This first flew in October 1985, and it last flew in July of 2011. Pretty amazing. The actual Space Shuttle Atlantis. Can we go in there? Can I fly this thing? For every launch, there are thousands of people who stay behind here on Earth, who help with everything, who help do the research, the design, the planning, all of the communications. Those are all done by people on Earth. So just because you don't go into space doesn't mean you haven't worked in the space program. Humans are natural explorers. We want to know what's outside of our immediate surroundings. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to go into space. And the great benefit is that we learn so much about ourselves as we explore. The International Space Station is a great example of 15 countries coming together to solve a problem that's bigger than us all. This is a replica of the massive Hubble Space Telescope. Many of those pictures that you see from space, if not most, were taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. It's been up there for 25 years, taking digital pictures of our universe. That thing weighs over 24,000 pounds. That's like more than 2 elephants combined, but it's remote controlled, so they can like go and like look at different parts of space. It's up there spinning around the Earth. And did you know that these things go around the Earth like every 90 minutes? The sun rises and sets in space when you're orbiting every 90 minutes because of how fast you're traveling. Isn't that crazy? And the Webb telescope is going up soon, and they say that's going to unlock even more secrets of the universe. When you look at the Earth from space, it puts so much perspective on how small we are and how important it is for us all to work together here on Earth. It's the only way we've gotten to do so many things in space. And the Hubble Space Telescope, as we look at those images, we've learned so much. And it just gives some perspective as to who we are and how we can all work together better in the future. This is an astronaut's room. This little box is where they sleep and do all their living stuff in space. There's a sleeping bag right here. There's no gravity in space, so they have to strap themselves up to the wall because there's no up, down, left, right in space. It's all relative because you're always twisting and turning. So they'll strap themselves into their sleeping bag and their arms will fly up in the air. And then they've got their little computer and books and stuff that they can read and do while they're in space, because there's not a lot to do in space. There's not a lot of nightlife. Through NASA's space exploration and research, we haven't just learned about space. We've learned all kinds of things in the process about our bodies, about ecology, technology. Velcro was developed for the space program. Memory foam, we've learned how to better combat diseases. Solar panels, all these things came from our exploration of space. Isn't that amazing? It's so cool. The question everybody wants to know the answer to is, how do astronauts go to the bathroom? Yes, this is the toilet that they have on the space shuttles. So the crazy thing is, the astronauts have to aim really carefully because there's no gravity when they go to the bathroom. So they sit down on the toilet, they're floating around, and there's a camera inside to make sure they get all their poo in the right place, because they don't want to have poo floating around, right? So there's actually a monitor right here to help you aim. Space! No gravity. Dang, I should have brought a snack. The space shuttles are going super fast in space, so they need to slow down. So I'm going to simulate now what I would do if I was a space shuttle. Slowing down, slowing down. These S-turns slow down the space shuttle so that it can actually re-enter. The sound effects are just for fun. That was awesome. So that simulates the angle of descent that the shuttle has to take when coming back in for re-entry. And it was really fun. So the Kennedy Space Center is built here, and it's become called the Space Coast in this area because of how the economy is affected and all the jobs that come in because of the Kennedy Space Center. The space shuttle program has ended, but NASA is not finished going into space. This is a mock-up of the new SLS, or Space Launch System. It's a new system of rockets. There's an Orion capsule at the top. This is what's going up into space next. The SLS is going to go up to Mars. So stay in school, because if you're between 6 and 16 right now, you might be just the right age to be an astronaut when this thing takes off. Study hard, my friend. Is there life on other planets? We're not sure, but we're looking. That's one of the reasons why we're checking out Mars. Now, these are some Mars rovers, little robots that go up on Mars and they can look around, check to see what's in the soil, all that kind of stuff. But in 2030, NASA has planned to send humans up to Mars. One of the reasons is to look for evidences of life, to look for evidences of water, to see if it can sustain life up there. Maybe we can build a little habitat. Maybe we can put people up there in a little shell, grow their own plants. Not go outside though, because there's no oxygen there. But these are the things that NASA's looking into. The shortest trip to Mars, 9 months. This all helps us gather information to better plan our next trips into space and up to Mars. It's exciting, right? Who doesn't want to go to Mars? They call it the red planet, right? I wonder why. So in addition to Florida, there are lots of other NASA locations. NASA has locations in Texas, Virginia, California, among other places. But the cool thing is that here in Florida is where all the rockets are made. Here we are in the rocket garden, where NASA grows all their rockets. No, I'm just kidding. They don't grow rockets here, but this is where they take rockets and they put them on display so you can come through the Kennedy Space Center here and you can see what real rockets look like. So all of these rockets that you can see here are real, but they never flew. So for some reason they were retired before they flew. They don't do that in space, do they? It feels right though. It feels so right. We've got some pretty cool historic rockets here. This one over here, this far one, took Alan Shepard up into space. Now that wasn't the actual one, but it was from the same series. And this one right here, John Glenn. So the Kennedy Space Center is the only place in America where humans have been launched from. My whole head is too tall for this. So if you come visit, in addition to what we've seen today, you want to make sure and go and see the IMAX movie where it feels like you're actually flying through space because the screen is huge and the camera's all like, it's awesome. There's all kinds of opportunities to do visits here, and you can find out more information about that at kennedyspacecenter.com. Oh, what an incredible place. This has been Discovery Dan, the scientific adventure man, explorer extraordinaire. See you next time. Stay awesome.